Hi guys, my name is Debbie and I'm one of the MCs today. And this is Cher, she's also one of the MCs today. Yeah, and we organized this event with Zoe, who's going to be one of the panelists, and also Julian, who's right over here. Thank you guys for organizing with us. So today we'll just have our panelists, and Harriet is going to explain some questions for us, or answer some questions for us about housing updates, and what their experiences were like living off campus. But to get started, just to explain the format, we're going to have some questions and they're going to answer them, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A at the end. So our first question is for the panelists. How did you guys find housing last year?
Yeah, so I think we can also say our names and stuff. So my name's Zoe. Last year, I actually live in Midtown right now, so it's a really popular place for students to live off campus, and I found it like sometime late October, so that's the timeline for Midtown.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I found off-campus housing through a grueling effort, I'll tell you. But I used Zillow for a lot of that, and you can do that through contacting different realtors, and then you set up the meetings. And then, I just called them up, I visited, and then we signed the lease. So I live in Parkway Apartments.
Hi guys, my name is Edie. I live in apartments that are like off Bypass Road, kind of near Golden Corral and stuff like that. I had kind of a similar thing. I looked up Williamsburg Apartments, VA, and then it was like Zillow showed up, Realtor.com, like a bunch of different websites showing what apartments and houses are available will show up. So I just looked at those, contacted the seller, and then booked a tour. But honestly, if you just look it up online, I found that was not too bad of a way to find it if you don't want something like Midtown. And I know if you know upperclassmen who just graduated, sometimes they'll be able to hook you up with something.
Hey guys, the mics aren't quite working all the time. Can you guys just talk as if you don't have a mic, and then it's an added bonus?
So hi, I'm Nishat. I am in a graduate program at Computer Science. I came here in US last year from Bangladesh. So my house finding was very gruesome because the first 7 days that I came from Bangladesh, I stayed at a hotel because I couldn't find housing. My programs founded housing for me, but there were no housing available, no graduate housing, not in campus. So I found my housing through the off-campus website. Do you guys know the off-campus website that is available on William and Mary housing site? So I found my last home through that off-campus housing. That was WMBG Rentals. This year I shifted my house to Lawson Apartments. That I moved into Lawson Apartments through connections because a lot of the other people that are from my country are living in Lawson's, and it's cheap to have a off-campus housing in Lawson. So yeah, this year I'm living in Lawson. So I have two different experiences of housing. One in WMBG Rentals, and now I'm staying in Lawson Apartments.
Yeah, it's so great to hear how, the different upperclassmen and also the graduate student were able to find the off-campus housing, because I feel like it's really hard to start out the process at first, at least for me as a sophomore. And now I'm kind of just scrubbing around, seeing what the opportunities and the options are. And also, because we have Harriet today with us, the director of Residence Life, we also have a question regarding to the wait list. With the statistics from last year, how many people were able to get out the wait list, how was it like, and how long do they typically have to wait to get the offer?
Again, I'm Harriet. I'm from housing. And so last year's wait list, there were over 500 students on the wait list. Everyone that stayed on the wait list was housed by July, by the end of July, and we opened with 100 vacancies on campus, for perspective. This coming academic year, we do not anticipate a wait list. If we do have one, it would be really small. It would not be in the hundreds. Part of that is because we are bringing on over 1,200 new beds online next year, plus the reopening of Old Dominion, which is another 100 plus beds that will be reopening in the fall. And so even though we're closing Green and Gold Village and the Randolph Complex, we're also gaining beds. And so this year we have just over 4,300 beds open on campus. Next fall, we'll have just over 5,000 beds open on campus. To give some perspective of that wait list and what that would look like, it would be really small compared to what we had the last 3 years.
So with that, do you guys have an idea of which dorms specifically are going to be for upperclassmen, which are going to be for freshmen yet?
Not off the top of my head. So next week, we're hoping and aiming for October 7th for the full housing email to go out to all students. And that will actually break down what hall will be upperclassmen, what hall will be first-year students. I can say with confidence that the Westwoods buildings and Cedar Hall, which is a part of the Lemon-Hardy Triangle, between those 5 new buildings, it is almost split in half for returning students and new students. And so there will be a lot of options on those new buildings for returners, but also for our new incoming students. And so that information will all roll out next week, and it will detail like which building is which for upperclassmen. One hall, it's so large that we're actually splitting it in half between first-year students and upperclassmen because we can do that by the floors and just the layout of the building. But all the details will be in your emails next week.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that clarification, Harriet. This is another question for our panelists. How much does off-campus housing cost for each of you?
So I can start. The costing of off-campus housing, as I don't have experience in on-campus housing. So the last house that I lived in, it's worth mentioning, I'm not alone. I live with my husband. So as I am renting house, I had to pay for 2 persons, or I had to keep in mind in search of housing that can accommodate 2 persons. The last house I stayed, I paid $1,400 all inclusive. They have an in-house laundry, the cable was included, Wi-Fi, electricity, gas, and water. Everything was included within those $1,400. And at present, I live in Lawson Apartments. I pay around $1,050 as a rent, but I do have to pay for gas, I have to pay for electricity, I have to pay for my own internet, I have to pay for my cable, and all other bills are excluded, and they also do not have an in-house laundry. We have a laundry around the block, but we don't have an in-house laundry. So yeah, that's about that.
For my apartments that I live in, it came with, I live with one other person, so we have like a 2-bedroom type situation, so we each have our own room. And then it came fully furnished, and this is including all the like electricity utilities. I pay like $800 a month.
I live with 2 other people, so the total rent before utilities is about $1,950. And then generally per month after utilities will go up to about $2,100. So with 3 people, that's about $700 per person. But when you look for on-campus housing, that's on the cheaper side. There are some that started around $1,800 at the lowest I found, and a lot of them, the most common price is about $2,500 if you're looking for 3 people. So split that between 3 people, and
Yeah, so Midtown is on the more expensive side of things, but I think you'll find in general that housing price increases that you get as you get closer to campus, and decreases if you live further out. Say if you need to drive or take the bus to campus. So actually, I can pull up how much the Midtown prices were from last year, but I do know that they're going to go up this year. So for last year, a 4-bedroom in Midtown started at $1,065 per person. 3-bedroom was $1,235 per person, and the 2-bedroom was $1,300 per person, and then a 1-bedroom is close to $2,000. And then there's also some premiums and insurance, but everything else is included. So that's internet, washer dryer, in-unit washer dryer. Midtown also, you have your own bedroom and your own bathroom and a large kitchen, which is really nice, and it's close to Food Lion. So yes, it is a little more expensive, but I'd say living in Midtown is relatively worth it. There's not a ton of major problems that I've personally experienced, but it is on the higher end.
That's definitely great to hear, like a diverse range that we have for options and what they are for students. So commute and transportation-wise, for people without a car, what are the options out there? And for people with a car, what is commuting like, parking, and things like that?
Yeah, I can start this time. So I don't have a car and I live in Midtown, so I either take the bus or I walk or I beg a friend to give me a ride. So out of those three options, usually I find my way on campus around pretty well. I've only been late to class twice, so it's not too bad. And I think if, Midtown is close to Food Lion, if you guys know where that is. So it's like around like a 15-minute walk, but it's honestly not that bad. Especially since you can take the bus or catch a ride with a friend. So even if you don't have a car, I'd say you can definitely think about living somewhere like close to Midtown, or even I know people who lived like close to like Ludwell Apartments, which is on campus housing, but housing around there, which is closer to the B school side of things. You can still consider it even if you don't plan on having a car on campus next year, since you can walk or take the bus or get a ride with a friend.
I do have a car, and so I live about 3 miles from campus, and there's no bus line, so I am 100% forced to have one, or I couldn't get here. As for parking on campus, you should keep in mind that if you do plan to bring a car in the event you live off campus, is that for year-round, it's about $400 for the parking pass. And parking, as far as that goes, there's a lot of parking at Kaplan and outside of CAF. If you want to get something closer in the parking garage, which is right near Boswell, you have to get there, and I mean have to, before 9 a.m. Otherwise, there is nothing there. So if you're good at waking up early, it's not too bad. Otherwise, I guess, good luck.
Yeah, my apartment is also, it's not that far, but it's a little on the farther side, a little farther than Midtown. My roommate has a car. I don't go with her because she does get to campus by 8 to get parking. So like when you do have a parking pass, you do still have to make sure you get here kind of early. But since I don't ride with her, my normal option is I take the bus. The walk to the bus stop isn't that bad. And if you have the transit app on your phone, it's really easy to navigate the bus routes. And I also have my bike, which is really helpful.
So yeah, the transit app is very helpful, and the place I live in, it's behind current Midtown. I don't know, do you guys know the Dunkin' Donuts around Richmond Road? So I live opposite of the Dunkin' Donuts. It's near the City Loft Apartments. So there are 3 bus routes around the Lawson Apartments where I live in. So I can take either one of that. I can take either line 2, the water service. I can take either line 2, or I can just walk a 2-minute away. Then I can take the bus number 12 from Rita's Ice or Food Lion, or I can also take bus number 8 that goes around the campus from the I think it's called the business school parking lot. So there are a lot of opportunities that if you miss one bus, you can catch the next one, or you miss one bus from one route, you can take another route, because all of the buses revolve around the either Wawa or Blowhall or around the Swam Library. So yeah, the Lawson is pretty good according to bus. You can also walk from Lawson. It's gonna be 20 to 25 minutes walk depending on your pace, how you are walking. But you can also bike. But yeah, buses are quite flexible. I didn't have to walk a single day because I missed the bus. Because if I miss one bus, I can go into another one by waiting like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's pretty good around there.
Thank you so much for those responses. I think that adds a lot of clarity to how people who are living off campus can get to class. I wanted to ask another question to Harriet. Do you know of some other helpful resources that people can use to find off-campus housing?
So we are relaunching this fall the off-campus housing website. We'll actually relaunch later this fall with William and Mary branding on it, because we entered into a partnership with them. They are also coming at the end of October in conjunction with STEP, with the Office of STEP, to do a off-campus housing fair. And so they'll invite places from off-campus to come. And so you'd be able to connect with landlords and connect and see what potential offerings there are off-campus, but then there will also be resources at that. So financial aid is typically there to kind of talk through how your financial aid may work on or off-campus for housing, which is really useful because not all students realize that their financial aid packages can work for on or off-campus housing. It's not just on-campus housing. So those are things that are coming in the future. I think the off-campus fair, I think is, I want to say it's October 22nd or 23rd, and that's also noted in our email that's coming out next week with the date and location and all those things that are coming down the pipeline with that. So those are the resources that we have for this upcoming year. A lot of it, too, is that students utilized social media platforms, too, and connecting with each other and finding different options off-campus housing, too.
Thank you so much, Harriet. I wanted to ask another question to the panelists. This is more on the experiences of living in off-campus housing, but do you guys have any experience with furniture rentals, or is it better to get an apartment or house that is already fully furnished?
So in my case, both of the houses, neither of them were furnished, so I had to get my own furnitures. I didn't have any experience on renting furnitures, but the Reeve Center for International, as I am an international student, so the Reeve Center has a function in starting off each semester where they give away some kind of furnitures and all other stuffs. But unfortunately, I couldn't attend any of them because the first one that was in the last fall, I didn't reach there until the function, and they actually hold it each semester. In the starting of each semester to give away furniture that has been donated on the Reeve Center, but it's on the BCM, on the church. As I didn't get any of the giveaway furnitures, I usually look for furnitures on Facebook Marketplace. That's very informal. I usually look for furnitures at Facebook Marketplace. I also got some furnitures from Restore. I don't know whether you guys knew or not. It's down on the Gem City County side. So there is a furniture place called Restore. I got my couch. I got some of my my dining table, my chairs, and one of my stands to place my TV. I got them from Restore, and I also got some furnitures from, also got some tables and other furnitures from Goodwill too. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. My apartment, like I said before, was fully furnished except for my bedroom. Just had like the bed, but it didn't have like dressers or anything like that. So I think I got all of my stuff from Facebook Marketplace, and I think everything was free except I paid like $5 for my desk. So that's like a really, really good resource if you're trying to find cheap furniture. And I've also heard really good things about the Restore for furnishing as well.
My apartment did not come furnished, so I sort of have two sides to the story. I personally went through the furniture rental route. If you look on the current link for the William & Mary off-campus housing guide, not necessarily the off-campus housing website, just the guide, they will include a link to Court Furniture Rental. So they have pre-made student furniture packages. If your priority is by the end of your time here not to have any furniture to take with you, that's what I recommend it for, because it is a little bit on the expensive side, but I guess you pay a little bit more to save yourself the headache. It'd be about $150 a month, so you just add that to your own rent for your apartment. But the rest of my roommates bought the furniture themselves, and they used IKEA, they asked friends, they used Amazon, because a lot of times all those services will have cheap alternatives to permanent furniture. So also Facebook Marketplace, I would recommend that because I know there's good deals on there.
Yeah, so Midtown comes fully furnished, so while it is on the more expensive side, you don't have to pay anything for furnishing, so yeah. I've also heard good things about the Restore too, and Facebook Marketplace. So.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this is something that's very also just personal to me because I was thinking about that literally this morning. I was like, I don't know if it's better to get a fully furnished house, but then they tend to be more expensive, or I'm like, I hate moving out and packing things with me, so I'm like, I don't know what's a good option. So it's definitely great to hear from, both of the sides with you guys' experiences. And also I was wondering, from your own experiences, what are other advantages and disadvantages of living off campus? Is it the independence, the meal plan, the distance, or is there anything else at all?
Yeah, I can start. Definitely one of the advantages is being able to cook your own food. I'm fully off of the meal plan and I cook all my meals, so it's definitely a plus because I think you also save money too by not being on the meal plan. I think at least I am. So that's one of the big advantages. It's also really nice just being kind of like having my own space, like my own bedroom and bathroom. So that's been really nice. So yeah, especially I think for Midtown specifically, if you get a 4-person bedroom, I think it's worth it, especially because you can still get your own bedroom and bathroom, and it's like around, I think it should be less than $1,100 a month per person. So yeah, and you can make your own food and not be on the meal plan. So.
I think a big advantage of it is that overall, compared to on-campus housing, you save a little bit of money when you go minus the meal plan, and usually rent overall is a little bit less than what you pay for on-campus housing. Making your own meals, grocery shopping does also save money. I know it's difficult, but it is the better alternative. Disadvantages, I'd say commute is not entirely convenient. But getting your own room, things like that is nice, and it teaches you to care for a place rather than sort of with a dorm. As much as it is convenient, you just leave it at the end. You don't really realize what it means to take care of a place until you actually have to, so.
Yeah, that's really similar to what I was going to say, because a lot of college is about, more than a degree, also learning how to live independently. And I think that's been a really big step this year is like, oh, what do I need to actually cook for myself? Like, what extra little appliances do I need, or things like that? Do I need to go grocery shopping? So I also like not being on the meal plan because it does save money. You do have to put like the extra thought into meal prep and remembering to bring lunch and everything like that, especially if your commute is a little more difficult and you can't just go back. So on-campus housing is definitely easier because it's obviously right there. You're on the meal plan, everything like that. But for me, the price has made it worth it. And yeah, the living situation is just really nice. Like they were both saying, having your own space. And yeah, they just tend to be like nice places, which make it a good experience.
Oh, do we have a question in the audience?
I was wondering, how available is, parking?
Sorry, could we get the mic to them? Sorry.
Yeah, so I was wondering for everyone, say Midtown, for example, how, if you wanted to have a car in Midtown, could you? Is there parking there? How about parking for off-campus? Where are you going to put your car at night?
Yeah, so Midtown has a parking lot, and you do have to pay extra for the parking. I don't have a car, so I don't know how much it is, but there is parking.
At least for my apartment, there is designated parking lots that are right outside of the unit. It's free unless you want to get a nicer spot. Then you have to reserve that for, I think that's $30 a month. But from what I understand, having to tour other apartment complexes, that they will all have certain parking lots that are designated for it, and it varies whether you have to pay or not. So I don't think that would be an issue unless you do go with something similar to Midtown, which is like integrated right into sort of that student life area, so parking's hard to come by there.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted. So there is a parking lot, I just have to pay for it. Okay.
I think it also depends on like the rental agreement that you have with your off-campus place, because at least for me, I live in the same place as Edie, which is Williamsburg Commons, and there's designated parking spots for the apartment that I live in. So you just have to make sure you check that out when you go to the place and tour it. But to bring it back to the panelists, I wanted to ask you guys, do you have any advice on how to find housing, like when to start, where to look?
So finding housing is very much critical, and you need to search about your preferences. As a graduate student, I prefer a place that is quiet where I can do all of my stuff because I work remotely most of the time. I do have less classes than you guys, so I spend less time on campus. I spend more time on my house. So I was searching for something that I would have my own bedrooms, I have my own kitchen space where I can cook anytime I want, I can do all of my stuff. So if you have that kind of preference that you need a house by your own or you need a 1B, 1 bedroom apartment by your own, Lawson is a very good alternate to campus housing because they are one of the cheapest. I think they're not one of the cheapest, they are the cheapest housing facilities available in Williamsburg, and they are pretty clean. The first thing I noticed when I moved into Lawson, it's pretty clean. We don't have any kinds of bug problem, no roaches or no mice as till now. It depends on how much you keep your place clean. But the apartment complexes are individual blocks, but the blocks or walls, whatever you call, they are very sturdy. You will not hear from sounds from other apartments. There will be no rental upstairs. They will just bang the floor and you will get distracted. Nothing sort of this will happen. Yeah, and about how you're gonna find housing, that's a very tough question in Williamsburg because people usually starts to look late around when the school is starting. Suppose you're starting school at August, so people will start to look around July. But my suggestion is, if you want to stay in Williamsburg, you have to start looking it into a little bit earlier because the housing situation is a little bit tough. So the off-campus housing of William and Mary, that's a very good resource. And Williamsburg has their own rental program, own rental company that is called WMBG. That's also listed in off-campus housing, but they also have their own website. So the houses that are not listed in off-campus housing, you can go to their website and check for housing. Zillow is a very good alternate. You can find housing on that. Yeah, that's all from my side. And you can also ask your other friends where they are living so that you can get an idea of what you want.
I know in terms of when I started looking for housing, I know when I was a sophomore last year, around this time I was like freaking out because everyone around me was like, you need to start looking now or else you're gonna be homeless. And so I started looking really early. I originally started looking for Midtown, which I think I started looking in October, like it was really early. And then we got a lease offer back like a month later or something, but then I didn't take it and I kept looking. And then I didn't start looking for the apartments I have now until like February, which is still much earlier than like July and what she was saying. But it's definitely I don't think it has to be as fast and quick paced as some people think.
I'm right there with her. I agree on that part. Except for Midtown, I will say you have to start for the next year you want Midtown, you have to start in September or October or you'll miss it because it really is that popular and people just love the location. They love that it's fully furnished. But as for other off-campus housing and apartments, using Zillow is a really good idea because you can put in specific filters for what you're looking for by bed and bath and price, and then it gives you the location relative to campus. And as Zoe was saying earlier, you will find the price is cheaper as you go farther. And so yeah, I mean, if you want to look for those apartments a little farther from campus, it depends on what your plan is, when you're going to graduate. In my case, I started looking in April and May of last year because I knew if I got something, if my lease were to renew in May, then instead of paying after I graduate, I would just pay for that one summer I wasn't there. So it just defers it one way. So you can pay. You can start in August. You can start in May. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so like they said, if you want to live in Midtown, you do have to start applying to Midtown like around now. So definitely sometime in October, especially if you want a 4-person bedroom. I think those go the fastest. And yeah, just keep in mind the price. I was a little shocked by how much it was last year, but it is worth it, especially because you can the stress is also, I think, a factor too to consider. But I will say that a good thing to look for, or good thing to start asking is if you know any seniors in, say, the clubs that you're in, or maybe through classes or friends who are seniors, ask them if they have housing that they're leaving and want to pass down to you guys, because I know that's a really popular way for people to find housing. Otherwise, Student Assembly also has an off-campus housing guide that we're going to send out in the housing GroupMe that's on GroupMe. If you look on Discover, you should be able to find the housing group that I'm talking about on GroupMe. That's also a good resource. There's also a Facebook group that's for off-campus housing, and people post on there all the time about just housing that's available. So yeah, but I will say, I think if you want to live somewhere that's a little further off campus, you don't necessarily have to start looking until February or March, especially because people post on the Facebook group all the time, and that's just generally when people start looking for further off-campus housing. But for Midtown, the time is nowish.
Yeah, and I think also I was on the Facebook group I think last week, and I saw that not only can you look at the offers that people are posting on there, but you can also post, the fact that you are looking for a house and you're looking for a rental or something in the next school year, things like that, and people will kind of comment on your post, be like, oh, I have, a spot open, a house open, or I'm subletting and things like that. So there are a lot of options for you if you're looking for houses or just anywhere you want to live. And yeah, thank you so much for all of the inputs you guys have and all the, shares, all the answers you have for the questions. And I think now we can move on to the Q&A section. If anyone has any question relating to this topic, it would be great.
So for the on-campus, the new beds that are being added, are they all doubles or are they singles? What's the new stuff being added?
So depending on the building, there's a mix. I wouldn't say it's a whole building of singles. There are limited singles, just like in our traditional halls. But there are suite style, and then there are double. I would say the biggest change is how the bathrooms are in these buildings. If you've had a chance to tour Monroe Hall, that was just renovated this past year and that reopened this fall, the bathrooms will be kind of similar to that style when it is a community bathroom. But it's not really a community bathroom, because when you walk in, there will be kind of like a hallway, and there'll be 2 sinks or 4, depending on the size of the hall you're in. But then there'll be 4 doors, again, depending on what hallway you're on. But inside each door is a full shower, toilet, sink area, and you lock the door. So it's literally kind of going into a bathroom at home where you lock the door, no one else can come in. And they're termed as single-use bathrooms. But that's every community in these new buildings, and including Old Dominion when it reopens. Old Dominion is upperclassmen and is slated to return as an upperclassmen building. That building is predominantly singles, but it does have only a handful of single private bath where the bathroom is attached to the room. but then it is that kind of single-use bathroom right outside in the hallway. Part of that is, the thing that we're excited about that is that it also makes a lot of our floors more gender inclusive, so that we're not having to divide hallways and buildings by the gender, because we have these single-use bathroom options now on almost all of the floors in these new buildings.
Okay, and then if, sorry. Oh, if you want to like live on campus with a roommate, is it like a random selection? Do you both have to get picked to live on campus?
So again, we do not anticipate a wait list this year for the first time in years. If we do have one, it will be really, really limited. We'll be shocked. But it will be very similar to the room selection process that we've always gone through, where you do your housing contract, you go into a roommate group, depending on whether that's 2 or 4, and then you'll get a time slot randomly assigned, and then whoever has the best time slot in that roommate group, that's the person that should go in on their time slot and then assign themselves and you to the room and secure the room at that time. And so that process is not changing at all. And then all of that information will be on our website also.
Any other questions?
So I already have a lease for the year, and I'm not particularly thrilled about its location. I mean, I was thinking about, of course, changing for next year. Like, I wanted to try to get Midtown. We'll see how that goes. But I was wondering if, like, maybe for next semester, like, would it be possible to sublet to someone? Is that a thing people do, just for a semester?
I can answer this too. There are students who are currently studying abroad, or there are students who were not here because they took a gap year, a gap semester. And so again, you'll actually see them on some of the social media platforms. So like in the Facebook group, they may post, I'm looking for a sublet for the spring or whatever. And so there are students that are looking to sublet. So it just depends on the situation.
I would be aware, though, some apartment complexes have in their contracts that you are not allowed to sublet.
It's a house. So
Houses are usually fine.
Yeah.
But if it's an apartment, I would just be aware that
It's a room in a
there's some
house.
legal issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know for Midtown, there's like a fee that you have to pay if you want to sublet to someone. It's a couple $100s. And I think parking, the parking pass at Midtown's also a couple $100s too. I think that's how much I remember it being. So
Okay.
expensive.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's a house, you should be fine. I know there's a group me called like W&M Housing, or it's something like that. I don't know if anyone else is on it. Okay, but I get notifications from people all the time saying they're saying they're subletting a room or an apartment or something like that. So that's definitely something you could join or look into.
Okay. That's just a thought. Like, I might offer a sublet for the next semester, just so I can get a better location.
Yeah. Yeah, so the GroupMe is called WMN Housing. You can find it if you go to Discover Groups on GroupMe. It's like that second tab. And then that's where we'll also be sending out the off-campus housing guide that Student Assembly created last year.
I got it. I'm in.
I think we have another question in the front, too.
Could you talk a little bit more about the Midtown application timeline? Because I put my name down on their wait list to get an email about an application because they're doing renewals right now. I called and they said they're doing renewals for this month. So you said you were applying in October, but the woman on the phone was it'll the applications will open early November once we do the renewals. I just wasn't sure what your experience was.
I mean, I guess it might be different for this year because I actually haven't renewed my lease either. So, yeah, I guess the application process cycle is a little delayed for Midtown, but as long as you're on that wait list, I think you should be fine. I remember me and my roommate, we put our names down in late September, early October, and then I think we might have gotten an email later in October, but I think we definitely signed it before Thanksgiving. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think you should be fine as long as you're on it.
I I can also say, even though I'm not in Midtown, if you're on that wait list, it goes through their system of like people who eventually like call you back if they have a spot or they email you. They're going to try and find you. Might not be what you want, but they will talk to you. So.
Any other questions?
Just in general, do you have any specific questions that you would suggest us asking landlords before signing a lease? Like
Yeah.
things that we should know?
That's a really good question. So there's actually a thing happening on Thursday. Is it Thursday? Sorry, can you look at the thing? Yeah, there's a Braun Financial Literacy Program sponsored event, October 3rd.
Yeah, so there will be, if we're thinking more kind of the financial aspect of moving off campus, there is an event on October 3rd with the Braun Financial Literacy Program. There probably have been emails about it, and it's also attached on the student happenings as well if you guys are looking for more information. And yeah, they probably will be talking more about the finances of moving off campus and kind of, you know, locating housing options and understanding leases and rental agreements as well as managing the additional living expenses. So I would definitely recommend you guys attending that event if you guys kind of want a more extensive, you know, reviews on that aspect of moving off campus as well.
But then for landlords, I think the housing fair on the 23rd will have people who can talk about like what questions to ask landlords, what to make sure that you're not taken advantage of by landlords and stuff like that. So, yes.
Anybody else got questions? Anything at all?
Okay, perfect. So that wraps up our prayer note for today. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope that this was helpful for you guys as you guys are kind of going on the journey of finding options for off-campus and, you know, deciding between off-campus, on-campus, and things like that. And also look out, mark your calendar for the event with the Braun Financial Literacy Program, as well as the potential housing fair and roommate search event on October 23rd. And that'll be it. Good luck with your housing search journey, and we will, you know, look forward to see you guys in the upcoming events. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. If there's any questions, you can fill out the form that Nico sent out to you guys, I think, or no, it's in the email that Tara sent out to you guys. So there's a form for sophomores if you guys have any other questions, and we'll try our best to answer them. Yes, thank you for coming.